Hello everyone, Fanta here, you're watching FANTAVISION, and I'm here to explain why exactly there is a call to boycott Bayonetta 3. Now, Bayonetta, it's been a popular series for a while now. It's not some niche little game from a small studio that can't afford anything. It's a Nintendo exclusive, so they're getting money from Nintendo, and they're also, they've sold millions of copies of this game. Bayonetta 1 sold over 2 million copies. Bayonetta 2 on the Switch alone sold over 1 million copies. So again, this is not a company that's hurting. It's also PlatinumGames. They've put out lots of different games, and there's no reason for what's going on to be even happening at all. Of course, please do like the video. It really does help. So the whole reason the internet is exploding with Boycott Bayonetta and why everybody's so pissed off is because the original voice actor for the series is not returning, not because they chose to not return, but because they kind of had to with how lowball of an offer they received from the studio. The offer was $4,000, and that's it. We're talking about voicing an entire game that, once again, the series has sold over 3 million copies of for $4,000. That is an insultingly low number, and you can't pay the bills with $4,000. Think about how many hours you'd have to put in to voice an entire game and how much she's brought to the character. And now they're just treating her like this? And the thing is that makes it even worse is that this isn't even the lowest offer that they gave her. Reportedly, she was offered less than $4,000, and this was the final offer they gave her. Another slap in the face to this voice actress is the fact that she spoke to one of the higher-ups, the director, and he talked about how great it was to meet her and how happy he was with the job that she did with the character and how much she meant to the brand. And that's when they offered the $4,000, because they originally lowballed the hell out of her before and then followed up with that other lowball offer of $4,000 after she had talked to the director about an actual paycheck instead of that. $4,000 is just sad considering the project scope and how much, again, she brings to this character. This is a character voice that she created and that they liked, and she continued on to the second game, and now here's the third one, and she was going to go again, and they just decided, you know what? We don't really care. We just want to make as much money as possible, and a great way to do that is to cut your salary as much as we can. Even though the hype for Bayonetta 3 was massive. People love this series. She's in Smash Bros. For crying out loud. The fact that they weren't willing to pay her a proper amount of money for the amount of work and effort she put into this character is just pathetic. And is once again just showing how messed up the game industry really is. I feel like it's a constant weekly thing where we're hearing about employees getting underpaid, employees getting harassed, people getting fired even though they're having their most profitable quarters ever. I understand it's not happening in just the video game industry, but man, does it seem to happen a lot in that specific industry, which is strange because if you think about it, the video game industry is one of, if not the most profitable industries out there in the entertainment world. And yet, despite all that, and despite how much money that PlatinumGames is probably going to make from Bayonetta 3, and was given by Nintendo to keep this an exclusive game, they decided to not pay this person. Now, I just gotta say, hats off to Hellena Taylor. This is incredibly brave. I'm really hoping this doesn't backfire and hurt her career in any way, shape, or form, because people need to speak out against things like this. People need to speak out about the injustices that are going on within the games industry. Not too long ago, we got a story about a Nintendo playtester that was fired because they were even thinking about unionizing, and they won that case. They won the case against Nintendo, but it was only for like $25,000. Which is basically just a slap on the wrist for these massive companies and means they're just going to do it again. She's calling to boycott the game, and she even says, this is a personal decision. I'm not going to blame you if you don't, but if you really do care about this character, you really do care about the franchise, please boycott the game. And you know what? I have Bayonetta 1 and 2, but I will be boycotting Bayonetta 3. Again, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to join this because it doesn't make sense to me why they'd offer her so little and seemingly insult not only her, but kind of voice actors as a whole, and show that they really don't value their time and effort that is spent and put into these characters. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have done some sort of content creation or even created something as basic for school, where you have to edit something, you have to do a lot of voice work, you have to do just a bunch of content creation things. Like anything to do with content creation, whether it be voice work, videos, it doesn't matter, graphic design, all of these different artistic talents are things that companies seem to really just take for granted. And it's sad to see it happen to even the upper echelon, the upper tier of voice actors that are doing massive games that have huge followings. Actors in movies get paid so much money, and I feel like they get so much more respect than voice actors do. Even though a lot of the characters that we know and love from our childhood, or even now in shows that just require voice actors instead of performance actors, it's still a lot of work. You're still in a booth, you're still doing lines over and over and over until it's correct, and yet they're just not getting the same level of respect as movie actors. And I feel like that's been happening for the longest time. I'm sad to see it that way. I feel like they deserve just as much respect. And now we're just seeing that, nope, that's not happening. I mean, we've seen writers go on strike before because, again, they're just taken for granted. They're not in the camera. I think that's a lot of what we're seeing here. Helena is not on camera. Her face isn't in the game. Her face isn't out there constantly in the publicity for the game. She's not in the marketing. So because her face isn't there, they feel like they can just replace her. And I feel like that's the same thing with a lot of voice actors. Also, speaking of the director that she wrote, he's kind of a psychopath from what I can see on Twitter. I've never followed this person before. I've never looked into anything they've ever said. But during the situation, his reply, it's not good. It's probably the worst way you could reply to somebody, but it doesn't really surprise me after doing a little bit of digging on his Twitter profile. So what he said was, sad and deplorable about the attitude of untruth. That's what all I can tell now. By the way, beware of my rules. Now, these rules that he's referring to is probably the non-disclosure agreement. I'm assuming he's threatening legal action because of her coming out and speaking about what's been going on. But I mean, like, what a weirdo. What a psychopath. Beware of my rules. And now, originally I was like, okay, who is this guy? Maybe he just kind of had a knee-jerk reaction and he's not normally like this and he's going to retract that statement. And I don't know, maybe he'll try to work out the situation. But I mean, if we look at his pinned tweet on his profile, really fed up with insects which never read my post/header pic and just keep posting. That's why I'm telling you not to post me in languages other than Japanese. If you break rules, that means you are brainless insect and will be blocked immediately. Be careful. And then at the bottom, it says, my block button is bigger than ever. What? This guy, he's calling people insects just because they're posting on his Twitter or replying to his tweets, most likely in English. And he's freaking out about it. And he's called insects. Really? You gotta dehumanize people like that? And then, of course, his header. This is his header. This is a higher up in a company that is making video games. And he has a lot of, like, he's open to the public. And this is his header. It is just him repeating constantly these couple of tweets. I keep stating that I block foreign language, of course including English, for a while. That lures lots of insects to block. Very funny to see. Repeat for insects, as I've told you, whatever that number is, times. I'm still blocking foreign language posts, of course including English. Be careful, insects which don't understand language and never going to care about what I tweet and just post with a knee-jerk instinct. Kind of not surprised that this person, in the end, treats people like not humans, considering he just continually calls people insects for daring to not read his pinned tweet about how he will only allow people to reply in Japanese, and if you post in English anywhere, you will be blocked. Not a good look. So again, you don't have to boycott the game. I'm just saying I'm going to be boycotting it. I'm very glad that she spoke out about this, and the reason I made this video is because I want to spread the message even more. Even though she got 4.7 million views, she's gotten lots of different likes, retweets, a lot of support online. I'm hoping that translates into some sort of pain in PlatinumGames and Nintendo's wallet, because like I always say, you need to vote with your wallet. That's the number one way for the game industry to hear us, is not buying the game, not buying some sort of microtransaction, just not buying into the constant bullshit that is done by this industry. And I mean, it's worked before, so all those people that keep telling people like me and her to just shut up and go with the flow and let people just enjoy games, it's worked in the past and it needs to keep happening. There needs to keep being reform until this sort of thing stops happening and the people behind the games that we all love and enjoy are treated with proper respect and paid fairly. I feel like that's not really something crazy to ask. Let me know what you guys think of the situation down below in the comments section, whether or not you will be boycotting this game, or maybe you just weren't even thinking of picking up this game to begin with, how you feel about the situation, and of course, like the video if you guys liked it, subscribe for more content, and as always, have a fantastic day. See you, everybody.